during this very challenging time where we had to be forced to be separate from our friends and our colleagues, I was really grateful for this Anchor app, which has allowed me to continue the podcast after almost 1 year of working on it. It's free. You simply go to anchor.fm and download the app. And there you'll find all the tools that you need to record and edit your podcast, as well as to invite people onto your podcast through the app. Anchor also distributes the podcast for you on Apple, Spotify, and many other platforms. You have absolutely nothing to do except to record your podcast. If you have an ad like this, you can also make money. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. I would recommend it for anyone who wants to get their voice out there, has something to contribute. Go for it. Anchor.fm is where you go to download the free app and to get started. Good luck with your podcast. Welcome to episode 2 of season 6 of the Bees and Honey podcast. Today we're speaking to a New York artist, Timur York, who's originally from Uzbekistan, and he was one of the artists on the street painting on all those storefronts that had been boarded up during the social unrest this past June in relation to efforts to create social justice in America. I hope you enjoy this episode and enjoy. Hi, Timur.
Hi, Nicolette. Good morning.
How are you doing?
Try the speaker, or is it how it works?
I think it's working fine. So let's start.
Hang on, I barely hear it. Just give me 1 second. Okay. Say something?
Yes. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, great. So tell me about what happened this summer. Art to Heart is a group exhibition that you're currently part of at the National Arts Club.
Yes, very happy to. So Art to Heart is a collective of different artists from different walks of life who were united by the common mission of painting messages of love, unity, and compassion on boarded up storefronts in Soho following the unrest of looting in June of 2020. Everyone was shocked at the scene of all the boards and how lifeless the neighborhood became. And the idea was part to turn those boards into artworks. As a result, this became the largest outdoor living museum throughout the summer in the world. And in the end, there were over 700 paintings created by more than 300 artists. So essentially, this exhibit showcases the works of the core team of artists who formed Art to Heart. It was essentially 5 friends. 4 of them are women who put out the original call to artists to come out and paint in Soho. And when the club reached out and offered us the exhibit, in the true nature of the group's mission, the core team also invited several artists from the summer to exhibit together with us as well. And while I was not a founding member of the group, through this series of events and my consistent volunteering for photography for them and my background in advertising and designer, I was asked to design the second poster for the following event. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we kept on going. And soon after that, the team offered me to become the core member, which I was very happy about. And of course, I accepted. It was fantastic.
So how did this group start? Was it an organic thing that happened through the pandemic, or did someone just have a group of friends and go out? Like, how did it originate?
Yeah, so there was literally friends. I mean, after, I think it was June, when did the looting start? It was June 1st, mm-hmm. Right? Was it?
Somewhere around there.
Yes, exactly. So the story goes that Miriam Novel, who has a tea salon somewhere in Soho, and Maxi Cohen, who's a filmmaker, also lives in Soho, they were biking through the area just seeing what the hell happened. And they came up with this plan to kind of, this is not good, let's art. And they got together with more friends with theirs. And this is how the call was formed. And then they put out the original signal to the artists out there. And that's how it all started. Yeah.
And so this whole pandemic, looting, social justice thing, it's given you a lot of fodder for artwork then. Would you say you've worked more this year after all of this lockdown and stuff, or less on your art?
Yeah, I have actually never been busier in my recent memory. Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you perfectly
Yeah,
well.
great, great. So yeah, I have never been busier in my entire life. I mean, up to this point, that's how it's ever since the pandemic started. First, I was laid off from my full-time job back in May, and the job was my anchor for 11 years up until that point. And when I say anchor, I also mean in a dual sense. It was both a device of stability, preventing me from drifting away, providing solid support and predictability, both financially and emotionally. And on the other hand, it also kept me at bay, because at the end of the day, you can only make your art after hours, on weekends, vacations, holidays, if you're lucky. And so right after that, I picked up my camera and I just headed out into the city to document, which back then was a ghost town, if you remember. It was pretty much nothing was happening. And that's what attracted me to the supernatural kind of stillness of the city. And during one of those bright summer mornings, I found myself on Soho on June 7th, chasing the light. I met the art consultant, completely random. We just walking around. She was the only other person on the block at the time. And we just started chatting, and she suggested that I meet her friends who were going to paint storefronts. I thought it was an unusual idea, but it did not excite me as much as the scenery around me. So I said, okay, fine. If I see you again, I'll do it. And we kind of walked separate directions. But as I walked around that morning, I found myself on Grand and Green Street. And as I was turning the corner, who do I see? I see the same consultant. We just started laughing at this point. And she said, well, meet my friends. They were already setting up, they're painting. And so I was right there. And I kind of met them and started taking photographs of them the entire day. Yeah, and towards the end of the day, I actually picked up a paintbrush and started painting myself. And before that, it was such a interesting experience. I have not painted before that for maybe 10, 11 years. I completely switched to digital art at that point, and to be painting again was kind of getting reacquainted with my older passions, which was always painting, obviously, and it was really, really strange. I could not. It took me a while to kind of get back my touch,
Yes.
Yeah, so it's interesting.
Well,
Yeah.
that's a great story because you sort of could have lost that opportunity, but the opportunity didn't lose you. It made sure that it drew you back in that same
Yeah,
day.
for sure.
Yeah, yeah. It's a kind of like you can't walk away from your fate. You can't escape your fate.
So true, in so many different areas in life. I mean, it's the same. You think back and think there is no other way it would have happened. This must
Yeah.
have been. I mean, I'm not a big the fate, yes, but I don't know if there's a plan. But I think it's an organic kind of fate.
It's the
Like you have
energy. Yes.
yes, you have different choices in life. You make left turn. There is always something's going to happen. You make right turn, something's going to happen. It doesn't matter where you turn, but at some point there is always a consequence of whatever you do, and there was some path that kind of leads you there, which is interesting.
Yes. And the last time I saw your work was also at the National Arts Club. I
Yeah.
mean, it seems you have a relationship with that institution.
Yes, I remember that exhibit, and this was a fundraiser show, and you were there with a young Italian artist friend from Rome, correct?
Yes, I think I was there with Alessandro, perhaps, or I can't remember who I was there with. Maybe someone else.
Yeah. But yeah. So basically, National Club is amazing. I mean, it's ever since I find myself there for an event a little bit before that, more than half a decade ago. I kept coming back for inspiration, art, and friendships. And I mean, let's be real. Being an artist is not easy, and it's very impractical and counterintuitive in many ways. And artists, especially serious ones, require support and nourishment. And the club's entire mission is to promote and foster public interest in the arts.
Mm-hmm.
And they offer programs, classes, events, and even scholarships to promising artists. And the fundraiser was actually a benefit for the scholarship for the students, for high school students. And so it was a great thing. I remember being in high school, and it was a strange time. I went to LaGuardia, and it was all like always art related, and we did have something to do with the club and even SVA at some point also. So club was always kind of on on my kind of a field of vision throughout my art career.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and the atmosphere is amazing there as well. Makes you want to return there all over again. I'm very grateful for them for the support and for giving us this exhibit, which is amazing opportunity for us.
Yes, yes. And what would you say are the driving concerns of your art? I know you said you changed recently back to painting, but what, besides the hearts in this exhibition, what are the driving interests in your work?
Well, yeah, it's very true. I mean, every piece of art I have emerged with from the summer has a heart in it. You know, it's a unifying element. I think I approached this new direction the same way I would have approached the design's problem. I had a theme to work with, and I explored it in a variety of ways. But I also think that the heart emerged very naturally as a driver of emotion. It's a very simple, beautiful, and instantly recognizable shape, regardless of where you come from in the world. And that's actually been very much at the core of my art for many years.
Mm-hmm.
I work with icons and symbols, creating a historical kind of visual archive of our time. And it just so happened that in the past year, and I think for the foreseeable future, we will be more keenly in touch with our emotions. There is just no way around it. This pandemic opened up so many, you know, just the box of like all sorts of emotions. And so expect to see more art from me in the future, Nicolette. Yeah. You know, and in fact, my current Spread Love project is exactly that, where I keep around this, when I walk around the city with a stencil and I paint the hearts, you know, and I will keep painting it for as long as we remain under this coronavirus fog.
Yes. Yeah. And where are you from originally? I forget.
Yeah, I'm from Uzbekistan. It's one of those satellite republics, former USSR.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, half Russian, half Tatar. It's one of those fiery mixes you get.
Right.
Yeah.
And how would people find your work outside of this exhibition? Like, what's your website, or where, if they wanted to buy something?
Yeah, sure. They can find me on Instagram. It's Timur York Art. Mm-hmm. They can always find me. There was a website there. There was some samples of my work, everything else, and mm-hmm. pretty much I'm always available. Yeah.
And you spoke about, you know, the pandemic opening this sort of emotional Pandora's box, and I think that's true. What do you think about all the other changes that are happening in New York outside of, let's say, economically, with these restaurant closures and storefront closures? Do you think that's going to help? You know, rents are coming down in terms of real estate. Mm. What do you think? How will that affect you as an artist or artists in general?
Yeah, well, I feel bad for all the businesses that had to shut down and all the people who are unemployed suddenly. I mean, this is horrible. And the dining and restaurant scene has always been a big part of the city and experience. You know, when being out, it's always kind of, it's how you live in New York. It's part of the thing, you know, you struggle with this reward. And so are the storefronts. I mean, this is another big thing for the city. But yeah, lower rents is what enables artists to stay in the city. If it wasn't, at least for that, the city would be in a far worse shape. I mean, imagine, because if you have vacant buildings, vacant apartments, that's when criminal element starts brewing, and that's not good for anybody. But exactly what's, you know, artists do need space. We need as much as we can get.
Yes, and you know, someone was saying that some of the Wall Street guys who moved to Florida, they're already thinking of moving back.
Oh, good.
Well, I don't know if these are the guys that are buying art, but I thought, what, they didn't even wait for hurricane season before they decided to move back.
Yeah,
for real. Anyways.
Funny.
So what are your plans for the future? Like, this exhibition will be done soon, and then you have your new body of work. I mean, what do you think, now that this pandemic has shaken up your life and got you out of that comfort zone job situation, what are your plans? Well,
I mean, my plans for the future, boy, there are so many plans I have, Nicolette. I have endless and ambitious art projects in my mind. And all I want to do is make good art and make good living with it, you know, without relying on having an unrelated outside source of income to do it with. But I will say this, though, this whole coronavirus situation opened my eyes on the fragility and speed of life and the importance of having a loving family, good friends by your side. And for years, I was too focused on my work, maybe because I was in this kind of hamster wheel of just like doing, and forgetting that years just go by. And, you know, now maybe I'm getting a little older. And I do want the permanent presence of a loving, supportive woman in my life, that gave me this window into what's important, who would also share my love for art and for, be my best friend, my love, and my partner, and everything. And I mean, I hope that's not too much to wish for, is it? It's fun.
Can I tell you something? I
Please.
think that is so beautiful what you just said. It fits in with the theme of the hearts, first of all. But of all the interviews I've ever done with people, no one has ever gone there. And it had to take a Russian heart, or what, let's call it Uzbekistani heart, to
Tatar
address
heart,
that
yeah.
Tartar heart. And I love that. I love that. This is a first for me, and I absolutely agree with you. I absolutely agree with you.
Thank you for saying this, Nicolette. I mean, this is, like I said, it's opening up so many emotions, so many, experiences, and I mean, it shakes you up. It gives you a fresh perspective on life and what's important. And after all this is done and well, I mean, hopefully we'll find a way to live our lives better. But how's Theo doing?
Yeah, well, I am figuring things out myself. I mean, this podcast has been an anchor for me as well through the pandemic, to keep involved with art, to keep in touch with artists, to keep in touch with people in the art world, and to, just to stimulate some sort of community for myself as well. But I'm thinking now, what is the next step? I have a few ideas, and I'm a little bit slow to bring them out because I'm still figuring out the best way to do what I have in mind.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say in the next few months, it should be obvious what I'm working on. And it will be a little bit of an extension of the podcast, but it will also be a little bit more getting back into exhibitions and stuff like that. I mean, I'm just so happy to get around and see my friends again, and, just stop all this stupid distanced, blah, 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 yeah.
No, go ahead, please.
Nothing. I'm just really I'm into all the doctors that are actually brave enough to question things, and I'm into science a lot. In science, in the idea that not everything is known, not everything is written in stone, and that there must be room for investigation. I mean, I'm just really concerned about how the whole world is going in terms of deciding that this is it and this is the way, and I really, it's scary. It's some sort of barbaric notion, and it's not evolution.
Yeah, it is scary because, I mean, we think in our heads that we kind of project, ourselves into other people, but then we realize there are, agendas in the background, especially with the government's concern, and there is always something. There is a reason for things, and but no, I believe this whole social distancing. It's put us at a distance, and it's kind of, we're not supposed to be this way. We're social creatures. We're supposed to be companies with each other, and this whole thing is just like, that's why people have so much depression, because they've been stuck indoors. They've been, they cannot go out, or they can, but they're limited. And yeah, I just
it's hurting people more than it's helping.
Yeah, and it's just like, even you can be outside in the park, and just like, if you have to be a certain feet away from each other, but it's definitely there'll be a lot of long-term kind of
consequences
after this. People have to deal with. I mean, it's just, that's how it is. We're so fragile, it doesn't take much.
And we still have it here relatively good. I mean, our numbers of coronavirus people, or whatever you want to call them, victims, is large. But I mean, here in America, we are free compared to the rest of Europe and stuff like that. They have it really hard now.
Yes, and I think it's a second wave, right? Because it started in Italy. Italy was a huge hit. I mean, boy.
Yeah.
And and my sister was supposed to have a wedding. Actually, it was postponed, and now it's postponed again. And it's a poor girl. I really want her to get all of this, and it's just such a monkey wrench in everybody's lives, and
Well, I'm just fascinated by how things have reversed. All the freedoms of the first world have sort of been curtailed, and now if you go to the third world, like, they're living it up in the Caribbean, they're living it up in Africa, they're living. It's like they're free because they're outdoors, and life goes on, and the numbers are not so high. And us in the first, we're in our prison.
Yeah.
Our self-created prison.
No, for sure. But you still have family out there, right?
Yes, thankfully. I mean, I'm not visiting them enough, but again, that's another plan for the future, how to have more of a presence in the Caribbean and just other parts of the third world that also are probably more appreciative of what artists have to offer and what myself might have to offer, as opposed to the money-driven first world.
Yeah. No, we've been at it for so long. I mean, I think it takes the pandemic to sort of look back and say, wait a minute, is this important, or what is it really important here?
Yeah, I mean, and I'm also fascinated by this whole NFT explosion thing. I was joking to a friend of mine. Every artist that didn't make it in the so-called contemporary art world have now decided to become an NFT artist.
Oh yes, oh my goodness, the 65 million. What was the number?
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't think it's gonna be that. I don't think everyone's gonna make it there either. But whatever.
No, I mean it's as exciting. I mean, I was considering, because even in my art I start digitally. I mean, in one of my projects.
That's true.
The extension of what's already been doing, I'm just kind of considering how do I do it, and because I need to really understand this whole how it works. Otherwise, it's not a good thing to because I think you have to pay for it, right? You have to be paying to upload files and things like that, I believe.
Well, I mean, I think for people who've been working with art in terms of technology, it makes sense in a lot of ways. All you have to do is create a piece of art, I think, and then somehow register it on the Ethereum blockchain. And that's what you sell with the code to the potential buyer.
Yeah.
I mean, I have friends who are much more versed in this field than I am, and one dealer in particular in Switzerland who has been selling these crypto punks and stuff. So if you get to that stage and you want to have a conversation with him, I can put you in touch.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, I want to always explore different areas of art. I mean, this is just one thing. It's another medium, especially nowadays.
Yeah, well, that's true. It is another medium.
Yeah, it's not
another Pandora's box.
Oh, I know. Another scheming happening in the future, I'm sure.
Oh my God! I mean, you gotta really appreciate how artists are able to create worlds of their own, to create worlds out of worlds. I mean, they come from the outside into the art world now. This stuff didn't originate in the art world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's all technology. I mean, we artists, we kind of we have a sense about something, and we think, oh, this could make an interesting artwork, and we start exploring it. Like, for instance, like many of our day-to-day devices came from the military use, like microwave. It was a military invention, and then all of a sudden, it became. It actually, what happened was, I suppose the soldier was in the field and they were experimenting something. And they noticed that the chocolate that they had in their pockets melted when they were testing microwaves. And so, that's interesting. So that kind of made a transition into our everyday life, when we just melt things in the microwave and cook them.
Right.
So that's one of those happy accidents, I guess, that technology moved from military to everyday. But no, artists do this all the time. We just children. We play with stuff, Like, what happens if I move here this way or that way? And then before you know it, there's just like a new thing comes up. And before you know it, there's NFT happening, People.
Yes. All right. Well, I don't know. Is there anything else I didn't ask you that you might want to add? I think we went off on a little tangent there, but it was a good thing. It was a timely discussion with this NFT stuff.
Yeah, very lovely. No, for sure. And please come to the show, Nicolette. Come see it. It's 15th, Gramercy Park South.
Yes.
Through the March 31st. I'll give you a tour. Please do. Buddy, please come to the show.
Okay, I will definitely let you know what day. I had time this weekend, but somehow this weekend went by super fast. But I'll be in touch, and we'll talk soon.
I love it.
Again. Okay.
See you soon, Nicolette.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Have a great week.
Thank you for this. You too.
Bye. Thank you for joining us on this episode with Timur York. I hope you learned a little bit about what happened with artists during the time of the protests in New York, and I hope you check out Timur's work online. He's a great artist who has definitely come into his own during the pandemic.